Um, get 6 kids in there I've had so far. But the beauty of such a gregarious marble like this is that, you know, the less joints the better. That image, where the heated tower rail is fixed to, that's one piece of marble, and it's just, you know, quite beautiful. There's my favourite window there. So this is in their lowered cave bit, looking back into the kitchen and the dining room. This is the dining room with the front doors behind it. You see the lights that were made into the cedar ceiling, just out of very simple triangular sleeves. In the evening we'd pull that big 3 metre high red curtain across on both sides, and it creates a really lovely warm sort of feeling to the home. It's very small, but you know, we've very seldom had to heat the home. This is the shot looking back from the dining room into the kitchen, over the brass island, where you can see the potatoes and the creamers go on the left. Well, you can't see them, but that's where they are. And I think probably one of the nicest compliments I ever had on the construction of the whole home came from Tikimo, the guy who helped me the most, when he and I were sitting in the cave looking back at it, and he said, "Michael, this is the most beautiful banana box I've ever seen." But if I were to sum up in one word what it's like to think, to draw and to build my own home for a family, I think Rachel Carley probably does it best with that. And 2 weeks after we moved in, Mary O'Sullivan turned up. And it probably comes as no surprise that with a name like that, I would be a descendant of an Irish immigrant. And when Dad died a few years ago, I thought, right, I'll go and have a look at where he grew up. So I went to the southernmost peninsula island, and this is where I found this place here. This is an island called Skellig Michael, and it's 12 miles from the fishing village that Dad grew up on. And it rises 670 feet out of the Atlantic Ocean, and at the top of it is a World Heritage Site. And it's these monastic cells. And these were occupied by Irish monks between the 6th and 12th century. And these guys spent their entire time fishing, trying to catch birds, growing potatoes in the back there, and praying. I reckon they were praying to get off the island. So, that one view there, to me, sort of sums up in many ways why my dad came from the other side of the world. You can just see him saying, "Well, I think I'd like to go to the South Pacific." So he came here in 1939 as a builder and built these things here. And these are gun emplacements that are scattered all around the North Shore and sort of Wangaparaoa Peninsula. And I was delighted to hear David and Julie reference this in the construction of their own home. So I think these are very cool things. And he built all sorts of in situ concrete things, and he quickly became in situ concrete king of Auckland in many ways. If I ever build another house, I'm going to build one out of concrete, simply because the 3 sons. He built bridges in wet areas that that nobody else wanted to build, and he built most of the bridges over the southern motorway, and we still have all the formwork and the scaffolding from these projects. He also built this home, which we grew up in Papatoetoe, and then this entire, this whole house was drawn on one A1 sheet. Amazing. This fellow here is a French architect who says that he was educated in the University of World War II, and he's the only guy that I know of who's sort of documented these gun emplacements that are sort of scattered all around the world. And he became quite obsessed with them to the extent where he managed to convince the Catholic Church in France to build this. Matt Winteray and I went and saw this at 5 o'clock in the morning as we were trying to get back to Paris, and it was quite spooky. But we never got inside it. It was quite an amazing sort of thing. This is the first project I worked on when I left university. It was a competition I won to redesign in Ngāruawāhi RSA. the sculpture there by Fred Graham, by Toby Twiss. Most people, when they leave School of Architecture, the first job they get is to draw up an addition to an old villa. I had to wait 16 years to get a job up there. But it was definitely worth the wait. This is a villa in Cheltenham, just around the corner here, where the clients wanted to be able to look through their villa to a green slice of Europe at the back. And I thought that was a really quite sophisticated sort of a brief. It was also on a very tight site. And this is what we sort of designed out the back. It was an opportunity to actually look at the induction of light into a space as opposed to looking out. So we ended up designing these quite beautiful LED light panels which refract and reflect beautiful images onto the French oak flooring. That's a view into ensuite. The same principle of looking through was applied to looking up. I remember Nick Stanish saying to me once that, unless you've got a client that's got a vision, it becomes very difficult to do anything worthy. These clients had a wonderful vision of wanting to simplify their view and make the corridor through this villa wider, which I was really quite taken with. Beautiful kids. So, there was a huge amount of this very rich, intricate sort of LED light work. This is a shot at the rear of the villa that sort of shows you the malleability required on such a tight site. And these are the LED lights, of bifold panels pushed back, with the dining room on the left-hand side and the kitchen on the right-hand side. This is another project just around the corner that we did about 10 years ago, and it's quite interesting in the sense that it consists of 8 primary volumes that interlock and overlap each other to create a myriad of very rich sort of spaces and experiences behind what is quite an ominous wall. Andrew built most of the work on that one. This is a house in St Mary's Bay overlooking the West Haven Marina. Once again on an incredibly tight site in a character zone where you have to have a pitched roof. There is one there somewhere. This is an incredibly interesting house. It was designed by Claude Megson in 1974. And I was asked to look at adding on a bedroom and an extension to a living space on it. And it was so incredibly complex that I didn't know where to start. So I thought I'd make a model of it.